going to talk about the grammar for chapter 28, which is relative clauses. Relative clauses are fairly easy to recognize and very straightforward to translate. They're one of my favorite grammatical concepts because it allows you to have a more complex sentence, but it's very obvious what's happening, so it shouldn't necessarily confuse you. So this is from the back of your book, chapter 28, relative clauses. This is page 137. Here you have your qui, qui, quod chart. You have qui, qui, quod in the singular in all cases and qui, qui, qui in the plural for all cases. This is going to be very important because you need a relative pronoun to start your relative clause. So a relative clause is just like what it says. It's a clause that is dependent. It can't stand alone outside of the sentence. It's going to start with a relative pronoun and it's going to end with a verb. The relative pronoun at this point, you're going to need to translate in its case. So for example, the nominative is going to be who, the genitive will be whose, and the accusative will be whom, just like we still have in English for he, his and him, or she, hers, and her. The relative pronoun has to agree with the antecedent, which is the noun that it refers to in gender and number. So it has to be masculine, feminine, or neuter according to the noun that it's referring to, the antecedent, and it has to have the same number, either singular or plural. The case is going to depend on its function in the clause itself. So for example, in English, you've got Scintilla, who had not yet received a letter, was sad. So your main sentence is on the other side of your commas. So Scintilla was sad is the main sentence. Who had not yet received a letter is your relative clause. So you see that it starts with who, and in Latin, it's going to end with that verb. So who had not yet received a letter, quae epistolum nondum acceperat. It has to be quae because it's describing Scintilla and she is a girl, so it's going to be feminine. And it also has to be singular because she is one girl. Now, in the clause itself, who had not yet received a letter, she's performing the action of, well, not receiving the letter. So it's going to be quae because it's nominative. It's going to need to still be nominative because in that clause, she is the subject of it. Quae is feminine singular because it refers to Scintilla, and the nominative case because it is the subject of acceperat. Sentence number 2 in the English says, the friends whom we saw in the road greeted us. So the friends is the subject. The friends greeted us is your main sentence. The clause is going to be whom we saw in the road. So it starts in Latin at quos and ends with the verb vidimus, right? So quos is going to be the same gender and number as the noun that it refers to, which in this case is going to be amici. So quos is going to be masculine and singular. I'm sorry, it's going to be masculine and plural because it's more than one friend, which you can see here in the chart, quos, accusative, masculine, plural. It's going to be accusative because it's receiving the action of being seen. So the friends whom we saw in the road greeted us. So if you wanted to do that as an independent sentence, you could say, we saw the friends in the road. And that's a way to figure out what the case of your relative pronoun needs to be. Quos is masculine plural because it refers to amici. It is in the accusative case because it is the subject of vidimus. And your third example, in English, Scintilla greeted the farmers who were working in the fields. So Scintilla greeted the farmers is the main sentence. The clause is who were working in the fields. It starts with qui, your pronoun, and ends with the verb laborabant. Okay, so farmers is what gender and number? It's going to be plural because there's more than one. And it's going to be masculine. So your pronoun needs to be masculine and plural, which is going to be qui in this case. So who were working in the fields, your qui is also going to be nominative because the farmers are the ones doing the work. So qui is masculine plural because it refers to amicos. It is in the nominative case because it is the subject of laboravant. Okay, let us move now to your grammar exercises. So I'm going to do this in a Word document so that I can type and also highlight. Let's just switch over there. Okay. Your sentences all in the beginning of the chapter, your picture sentences, your model sentences, all have relative pronouns in them. So for example, this first one has qui. You can see that it starts with the pronoun and ends with the verb. Starts with the pronoun cuius, ends with the verb erant. Starts with the pronoun quibus, ends with the verb dederat. Starts with the pronoun qui, ends with the verb stabant. So you can see that they kind of all occur in the middle of the sentence. So let's look at 28.1. Our directions are here to translate, so we're going to do 5 through 8. So here we are with Scintilla again. So she is going to be the subject. Scintilla. I'm going to leave the relative clause for the second part. Let's look at the main clause. So Scintilla read through it or something quickly. Okay, so what did she read is probably going to be here in the clause. Scintilla, pronoun. Horatia handed over a letter to her, probably, right? So Scintilla, to whom Horatia handed a letter, read it through quickly. So cui is going to be your dative singular of your relative pronoun, and it's referring to Scintilla, so it's also going to be feminine. Cui is nice in that it's the same form in the singular regardless of gender, so that's cool. It's always going to be to whom regardless of who it's referring to. In this case, it's going to be dative because it's receiving the direct object, which is the letter. Horatia is the subject of this clause. Tradidit is the verb. Epistulam is the direct object. Cui is your indirect object, i.e. Scintilla. Okay, and again, here it's kind of in the middle of your sentence. Number 6. Here we have the clause at the end of the sentence. You've got qui, and then scripturat as your clause. So the mother, or just mother probably, told Horatia the things which, iaquai, the things which Flaccus had written. Okay, this is a very common construction / translation of this iaquai, so the things which Flaccus had written. The mother is the subject of the main verb nerawit. Horatia is dative again. You could say told to Horatia. A is going to be the direct object. That's what is being told. And the qui scripturat, that's your full clause right there. You've got the relative pronoun and the verb. So the mother told Horatia the things which Flaccus had written, and that is pluperfect because it has ERA. Flaccus is, oh, I misspoke. So qui is accusative. Flaccus is the subject of that clause, scripturat. So your clause goes from there to the end of the sentence. Whoops, I'm not going to restart the video. So the mother told Horatia the things which Flaccus had written. Sorry about that. Number 7. Okay, we got Horatia again. She's doing some stuff. So here I've got quibuscum ludabat as a clause, totem rem exposuit as probably the main part of the sentence. So Horatia explained the whole thing, the totem rem, the whole thing, to whom? The amicis, to the friends, quibuscum ludabat, to the friends with whom she was playing. So Horatia is the subject, explained is the verb, the whole thing, totem rem, is your accusative direct object. To the friends is dative. Quibuscum is going to agree with amicis, so it is plural and masculine. Remember that the cum on the end means with. So to the friends with whom she was playing. Since it means with, we know that quibus is going to be ablative. The Latin tutorial video that is posted on the chapter 28 section explains quibus cum quite well if you want to take a moment to review that. Number 8, the amici, the friends, and here we have a clause separated by commas, which is nice. A pronoun, verb. Oh, we got to you, and then a pronoun, verb. So the friends, decerent. The friends said everything to them which they had heard. And then what do we do with quorum parentes, rem cognoscere cupiebant? So the friends whose parents wanted to know, or were wanting, be imperfect, to know the thing, whatever, the rem, said everything to them which they had heard. So the friends is your subject, decerent is your main verb. You've got one clause here, starting with quorum, ending with cupiebant, whose parents, remember that quorum is going to be genitive plural. So who is it referring to? It's going to be the friends, the parents of the friends, right? Whose parents were wanting to know the thing, whatever the rem is, said everything or told everything to them. Ais is going to be just a pronoun, that is dative. Quae audiverant. So which they had heard is another relative clause, starting with the pronoun, ending with the verb. And finally, number 9. Thus, in a short time, all the Venusian people learned everything which Flaccus had written. So here you have another short clause starting with quae, ending with Flaccus, just like above, just like this one on number 6. In a short time, all the people of Venusi learned everything. Everything, omnia is going to be neuter, so accusative plural. Everything which Flaccus had written. So the quae here is also going to be neuter and plural. And it's going to be accusative because Flaccus is the subject of script surat. Okay, those for your translations. 28.2, we're going to give the pronoun and then translate the sentence. So we have to know the number and the gender of the antecedent. So number 5, to whom the master gave the orders. So sailors is going to be the antecedent. What is the gender of sailors? It's probably going to be masculine. And is it going to be singular or plural? It's going to be plural. I need to whom. So I need a dative, masculine, plural, which is going to be quibus if you look at your chart. So the sailors to whom the master had given the orders loosened the ship, or set sail on the ship. Number 6, the Nawis, so the ship, in which somebody was sailing to Greece, was not large. Here you can use commas if you want. Oh, let's do the which first. So what's the antecedent, first of all? The which is referring to what? The ship. What is the gender of ship? If you don't know, what should you do? Oh, you can look it up in the glossary or in a dictionary, and it will tell you the gender. The gender of Nawis is feminine. So is there one ship or more than one ship? It's going to be singular. So feminine, singular, and the N tells us it needs to be ablative. So feminine, singular, ablative is going to be qua with a long A. So the ship in which he was sailing to Greece, I assume this is talking about our friend Quintus, was not large. Okay. Number 7, with which. So many of the travelers with which Quintus was making conversation were very anxious. I feel like that should say with whom, but that's okay. So many of the travelers, what's the gender of travelers going to be? It's probably going to be masculine because it's second declension. And then is it singular or plural? It's plural. And with is going to tell us that it's going to be ablative. So we're going to have a put this again. So many of the travelers, I put with whom. Just was making conversation. We're anxious. I'll just type anxious. Okay. So many technically is your subject here. Which you are on, this is going to be a genitive, a partitive genitive, so part for the whole. So many of the travelers with whom Quintus was making conversation, that's the end of your clause, were, oh, that's very anxious. We're very anxious is the main part of your sentence. Okay. And finally, number 8. Quintus, a storm, which was scary for the rest of the people, did not scare him. Should be non. So the antecedent is going to be the storm, tempestatem, which is going to be feminine. It's third declension noun. So it's one storm, it's going to be singular. And it's going to be the subject of this clause because it's doing the terrifying and you already have an accusative. So nominative, singular, feminine is going to be qui. So Quintus did not fear the storm, which was terrifying the rest. Okay, so you notice in this sentence, we had to kind of switch the order for it to make sense in English, and that's fine. Quintus did not fear the storm, which was terrifying the rest of the people. just be very careful that you are not attributing that pronoun to a different antecedent if you have to flip the order. Just to be careful. Okay. In Friendly 28.3, we are changing these verbs into the future tense, the perfect, and the future perfect. So this is a little bit of a review. If you want to, you can look at page 157 in your book that has the verb paradigms. That's what I'm going to do, so I don't type the wrong thing and make another mistake in this video. Okay, so eubamus is the first verb that they give us, and what we need to know is the conjugation number of that verb before we go any further. So we can look it up. It's either going to be second or third, right? So let's find out. It is going to be third because there's no long mark on the E. So I'm just going to, for I can remember, this is third declension. I'm sorry, third conjugation. So if it's going to be future, oh look, it's already future. So eubamus is going to be the future form. The perfect form, you found the stem when you looked up the verb to see what the conjugation number was. So UC is the perfect third person, I'm sorry, first person perfect. So your third principal part. And I need it to be first person plural. So UC, eusemus. And then to make it future perfect, I need that perfect stem. So UC, and then what, I'm gonna drop off the I, and then I'm gonna add ERM, ERIMUS. Remember that I need my perfect stem with the use plus my future form of sum, which is aromas. Dot. Means give, comes from do, dare. It's first conjugation. So the future of dot is going to be, we need a BI. So BIT to keep the third person singular. The perfect form is slightly irregular. If you're looking at the third principal part, you can see that it's a dead E. So to make it third person singular, I'm going to add that T. And then for future perfect, I'm going to keep the dead. And then I'm going to add a writ because that is the third person singular future form of sum. Again, the perfect stem plus your future ending. The future coming from the future of sum. Did it. Let's look up this verb. What conjugation is it? It is third again. Not cool. Okay. So to make it future, I'm going to change that I to an E. To make it perfect, I'm going to look at that third principal part, which is redidi. Oh, should be two D's. And to make it third person plural, we're just going to add that T. Third person singular, excuse me. And then to make it future perfect, I'm going to keep that perfect stem. So redid, and then add a writ again. Redid a writ. Ooh, that looks fun. Okay. So those are examples for your grammar assignments for this chapter, chapter 28. If you have any questions, please give me a call or send me an email. I am happy to talk with you on the phone or via Zoom or via email.